Rev up your engine! Hey, J. Elmer, it's Scotty. I'm new to your channel. I'm in the market for my first car. So 2005 Nissan Altima 2.5S. 118,000 miles for 2,400. Clean. Thanks for your videos. I've learned a lot. Okay, well, you're going to learn even more now. Don't buy that car. Those are absolute piles of junk. Nissan Altimas 2005 2.5s. They blew head gaskets. It's an automatic transmission. The transmissions are weak and they fall apart. Do not buy that car. $2,400. I wouldn't give $1,200 for that car. They're horrible cars. Don't buy the car. You want to buy an older car like that? Get yourself a Toyota or a Honda. Get a Corolla or get a Civic. They can run forever, and you don't have to worry about all the problems that those Nissans have. Do not buy that Nissan if you value your money. Ricky Bobby says, what scan tool works on a Model T? These scanners, your eyes. Back in those days, man, the tools were like a hammer, a giant screwdriver, simpler days, you know. But realize at the same time, that simplicity required a tremendous amount of maintenance. My grandfather was a mechanic back in those days. Almost every winter, you would have to pull the head off the engine. You'd have to physically clean the valves, put the engine back together. But I've seen bills from back in the days. And back in those days, to take the engine off, clean the valves, and put them back in again, the whole bill was like $2.50. People didn't make much money back in the day either. So, things needed more maintenance. They were simpler and cheaper, but you did have to work on it a lot more than the modern cars. The modern cars will last longer when they're well built. Wolfmaster says, hey, Scotty, is a 2020 Toyota Camry TRD Sport a good car? Oh, yeah, see, the thing about the TRD, that's the Toyota Racing, and that's where they make their fancier stuff. Better suspension, zippier transmissions, a little more horsepower in the engine. Yeah, they're good vehicles. You know, you pay a little bit more for them. But if you want to keep it forever and you're a racy driver, go ahead. All my customers that have any of the various TRDs from that to the 4Runners, the trucks that have them and stuff, they're real happy with them because they know what they were getting into. The Dreamer says, hey, Scotty, hello from Toronto. I have a PO456 evap leak, very small leak, on my 2013 Genesis Coupe. Should I be concerned? Car runs fine. There aren't any more emissions tests. You got a small evap leak and it runs fine, go ahead and drive it. It doesn't really mean all that much if it doesn't affect the running of the cars. The evap stuff is only to keep the evaporation of gasoline from going into the atmosphere. Instead, it goes through filters and then it will burn it in the car if that gets too much. And so it's burnt instead of gone into the atmosphere, and it really doesn't affect all that much. But yeah, I'd love to know more if Canada stopped doing emissions tests. I think it's a smart move myself, because it was such a scam in the first place. Dirt and Snow says, I bought a 2008 Toyota Tundra, 5.7-liter V8, 105,000 miles. I later found out it started as a rental. What should I look out for? Well, I mean, it's older now and got 105,000 miles, so as long as it runs okay, hey, just keep taking care of it. Check the oil, make sure it's not burning oil. You know, look at the fluids. If they're dirty, change the fluids. I'm not a big fan of buying rental vehicles, but it would have had to be a rental a long time ago. That was 12 years ago, so I'm assuming that it's still in pretty good shape, so just keep taking care of it, you know. Yellow 5 Wagon 5 says, Scotty, I'm from Australia. Does exhaust modifications really affect fuel consumption? Planning to do some mods on my LS400 to hear that V8 rumble. To some extent. Here's the problem with modern cars. They got so much anti-pollution equipment on them. Change the exhaust system. It changes the flow rate, changes the data that comes in oxygen sensors, so it can change the air-fuel ratio. If you really want it to run correctly, get the exhaust modified and then go to a pro who can run tests on it and reprogram the computer's mapping system so that it will run correctly. If you're a gambler and you just put another exhaust on it, it might run perfectly fine. You could try it. If it doesn't, you're going to have a guy remap the thing. And if you don't put catalytic converters back on it, the check engine light's going to come on because the computer's going to know there's no cat indirectly analyzing the information, and your check engine light will come on. But you're in Australia, maybe you like what the Canadians say. If they're not going to be doing any emissions inspection, go right ahead. If you don't care if the lights are on, if nobody's inspecting it, but if you have a strict emissions inspection, say like they have in London, England, no, you wouldn't want to mess with that because then you'll never get your car legally inspected. Lunatic 450 Boy says, what do you think about a 2005 Chrysler Pacifica Mine has almost 200,000 miles in it. Okay, I think you're the luckiest man on the planet because those were really poorly made vehicles. You got that kind of mileage out of it. Take a plane to Vegas and get all your money and bet on a roulette wheel, double or nothing. You're the luckiest man on the planet to get that kind of mileage out of it. If you haven't had problems with the Chrysler Pacifica, you are really a lucky person. So quick, go to Vegas. You got lucky. I mean, yeah, every once in a while you get one. I actually had one the other day come over here, and a customer said, yeah, I know it's a junk old van, but I inherited it from my father. And, you know, it's got all these dings because he was old and kept hitting things. He wanted me to check it out, so I checked it out. I said to him, I said, you know, normally I say these are the biggest piles of junk on the planet. I said, but yours, and it had like 120,000 miles on it. I said, it still shifts good. And, you know, other than it knew it had an aftermarket radio somebody had put in because it kept saying the radio didn't have the right feedback to the computer. I said, it's actually in excellent shape. I was shocked to see one that was that old. You know, it was 12 years old and was still running good. So, hey, you got lucky. He got lucky too, man, but he inherited it from his father. Kasabji says, Alfa Romeo 159, is it a good car? Well, it is if you're selling it or fixing it because you're going to make a lot of money. And they are fun to drive. They're really fun cars for zipping around in. The parts cost a fortune. They're Italian. They break all the time. Every customer I ever had in my life who had an Alfa Romeo regretted it financially, if not emotionally. They'd say, I love that car. It's a beautiful convertible. It's red. It's done, but it's always breaking. If you like spending money and you like driving around in one, you know, go ahead. Just realize all your money's wasted. They have no resale value, but they break all the time. Arnold Mark says, Scotty, are Vespas reliable? Yeah, you know, Vespas are extremely reliable. That's one of the few Italian machines that are reliable. Those little scooters been around forever. They got tiny little engines, so there's not much strain on them. And, you know, if you want to drive around on a scooter, they've been selling those things for decades and decades. I personally can't stand scooters because they don't have enough power and they have weird handling characteristics. Give you an example. Years ago when I was on CBS TV, I did a shoot at a guy's place that he sold scooters, right? So the guy says, go drive it around the block. And I'm like, I don't want to drive this thing. I don't like them. Said, I drive a big 900cc Norton motorcycle. I don't want to drive this little thing. It scares me. So he says, go ahead. So I go and I turn around the block and the thing just flips over, rips a hole in my jeans and the plastic body parts all got scraped. And I said, I told you I didn't want to drive that thing around because they have a very low center of gravity and they're not like a motorcycle where you lean and turn a little bit with those tiny wheels. You turn the tiny wheels, man, they'll just flip over. They're not like a motorcycle that gradually go, they're so light and tiny, they just flipped right over on me. So me, I don't want to be seen dead on one of those things. But if you go slow and you zip around, they're reliable vehicles. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.